Okay, week 6 of the Better Life classes. Hopefully, I've gotten good feedback. Nobody's been very mean, so I appreciate it. If you do have something constructive to say, please let me know. I can handle it. If you want to see something done better or different, or if I'm just going too fast, again, just continue to tell me. But uh, so far, it's been pretty good. The feedback I've had. I ran into Brandon at the airport in Las Vegas. I was on a layover and he was heading to the UFC fight, and he had good things to say. That he and his team are also getting good feedback, especially on the watching it later side of it. So hopefully we can get. The goal is to get more people to be live and watch it live. We're averaging quite a bit, but we hopefully hope that, like, in the library of the classes, that people are also downloading them and watching them back. And because the goal is to give you guys information to make your life better. You guys are paying for being part of this tribe. Well, I am too. We all are. I'm also a paying member of the Better Life tribe, happily. And we all want to just do things and learn things and be part of a community where we can make our lives better. And hopefully I'm helping you guys with that. So today, just to summarize, over the last few weeks, we've talked about better education, better assets, better debt, better teams. And today we're going to talk about just better leadership. And I know that a lot of you are like, well, I thought this is a real estate class. Let's talk about real estate. Like, let's dig into like actual deals and those kind of things. And that's great. But and the reason I wanted to put this class in here is that even if you own one piece of real estate, you should think of what you're doing as an actual business. Don't fall into the trap of just being an investor, buying unless you're just going to invest in syndications, and then that could be more of a way to invest in a hobby, and then you can forget about it. But if you're going to be an actual general partner in your own deals, or just like a managing member of your LLC or whatever, even with one deal as you go, you should think about real estate investing as an actual business, because then you can actually grow. And you've heard me say this over and over again. The whole point to me, and how I teach real estate in all the courses I do and all the coaching that I do, the point of real estate is to invest in a way that it changes your life, not just add a little bit of cash flow or a little bit of cushion for retirement. When I teach it, my goal is to get you guys to the point, get everybody to the point of realizing that real estate is actually the fastest mechanism that anybody could do to create real wealth, so you can actually just change your life and have that better life that we're all wanting to achieve. So that's why I wanted to put this in here, because a lot of people invest in real estate, which is great, and then they just kind of go along with their life and not really build their real estate as a business, because they're working a W-2 job, they're busy doing other things in their life, and real estate's kind of like a hobby or just a side hustle, which is great. But if you were to think it more in terms of an actual business and building it as a business, I think you'd go a lot further. And if you start that early in the process, then you have a lot higher likelihood of a lot of success with that. So, and that's the way I did it. From day one, I thought of real estate investing as an actual business. I built the real estate around a business, or a business around the real estate, and I turned it into a lifestyle business, which is highly valuable and likely that you could do as well with real estate. That's the best part about real estate investing, is it's a lifestyle business. You want to build your business around your lifestyle, and vice versa, instead of that work-life balance thing that I was talking about that shouldn't really exist. It should all be one, and you should find a way to build it as a lifestyle. So, but welcome back again. Thanks for skipping last week. I've been in Las Vegas and Utah, which has been fantastic. I've been able to spend a lot of time with my family. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to Brandon. It was fun seeing him at the airport, and some other guys there too. And Better Life Tribe in Maui. Matt, thanks. Alex, always. He texted me some stuff. Alex is, he's listening, I'm sure, but he's the guy that like texts stuff and asks questions, and then you just don't hear from him for a while, but I'm sure he'll hit me back. But it's just kind of his style. But thank you so much, Alex, and then Kale and Kyra here in Lubbock. We're live here in Lubbock again, filming, and at Brick and Loft Realty in Texas. So I've had a lot of questions come in that I think that I've answered. Remember the Circle app and my Instagram, and I'll answer all of them. I think they've all been answered. If they haven't been answered, I do have a list of questions that we're going to talk about later. And these are questions that I get asked over and over and over again by multiple people. And I'm not going to name names or anything like that keep asking me these questions, but I think that if I answer these 6 or 7 questions at the end, then I think that I know I'm going to answer about 30 people of the questions they've had, because they're such repetitive questions. So hopefully that'll help you guys as well. And let's see. Yeah, so let's just dive right in. So it's a hierarchy of things that we're doing. We started with better education, better assets, better debt, and better teams, and now we're into better leadership. So you have a structure in place. You want to put systems in place to build that out, even if you have one house, is what I'm talking about. So the structure I'm talking about for building a business or building any company, it starts with your legal entity, of course. You want to have it structured right that works for you. And don't get sucked into the trap that thinking that LLC is the only way to go, or a trust, or a limited partnership, or just a regular partnership, or whatever is the best way to go, because there's so many different things, and you just got to find out what works for you. I like the LLC mechanism just because in Texas, it's very cheap and easy to file an LLC. Banks love it, and it's just the simple way to do business, and the protections are really good. Texas is a very landlord-friendly state, so LLCs are plenty of protection for what we need. I don't know what it's like in some of these blue states or some of these other states where they're tenant-friendly. I'd stay away from those completely anyway as an investor, but different legal entities may serve different purposes depending on your location. But in Texas, LLCs are simple and they work. And then you want to have your structure, your legal, your CPA, your systems, and then your leadership. And we're going to talk about the leadership mostly today. Building, and leadership is critical to any successful business. Building a strong leadership team for real estate business involves identifying the key qualities and skills required for the team, identifying potential candidates, and developing a process, and selecting and retaining the right individuals. So we're going to just talk about some of those steps. So I'm going to try to get people to interact a little bit this time. I always promise that we're going to have time at the end for questions, and I always screw that up. But this time we really are going to have time for questions. It's not that complicated topic today to just talk about leadership. So for those who are on, who actually is running their real estate as a business, even if you only have one property, like who has actually thought through the process, structured it, and is really just all in on that? Or who's not? Like who's like, raise your hand if you're like, I am lost, I don't know what to do. I'm just buying real estate left and right, and I'm just putting in whatever name and not really putting any systems in place. So I'm just kind of curious on what we have going on, and a lot of people are, I'm sure, are going to be shy, which is fine, and there's a lag, which is annoying. So I'll see what happens. But so when you're building a good leadership team, you want to identify the key qualities and skills that are required for not just what you're going to be doing as the leader of your business, but what you're going to surround yourself with, whether you're going to have an organization chart that is hierarchy-based or one that's linear. We use both. We use a hierarchy in our property management company, but in our brokerage, it's very linear, and everything else we do is very linear. We don't have like a lot of reporting mechanisms of our employees and staff. People are pretty equal. The pay may be different and the responsibilities may be different, but for most of my businesses, it's pretty linear, and it works really well for us. But in our property management company, it's a little bit different in that the mindset is different, the type of employees are different, where there is more of a hierarchy, because some of those employees do require more supervision, micromanaging, and more reporting. So that's one of the first things that you want to do, is set up your structure in a way, starting with the owner, and working your way down, or linear, on how you feel like you should run your business. It's pretty critical. So You want to determine what qualities and skills are required for each team member, including you, and that could include experience in real estate, obviously, leadership skills, strategic thinking, communication skills, and financial management expertise. And um, one of the most critical things that you can do also, and you've heard this a million times, this isn't going to be new. This whole hour is not going to be new to anybody, but you could have some of the best, strongest skilled people that just are absolutely not a right fit for your culture. So, like in my building, on my wall up here, over to the, you can't see it, but it says very, very big, a life well pursued. So our vision of our business is a life well pursued. So that's surrounding the lifestyle business that we all aspire to and actually have achieved. But if you hire people, even employees that you feel like are not going to be super long term with you, first of all, don't think that way because you never know. But no matter where they are on whether the hierarchy or linear or whatever, you want to find people that really buy into what you're doing. If they buy into what you're doing and enjoy being there and they have the same mindset and they fit right into the culture, it's just going to make your life so much easier. And this is coming from, and a lot of you maybe only have one employee or no employees and you're just starting, but that's where I started too, and we have so many employees now and so many different moving parts to all these businesses that you want to carve out your standards now and actually get those going for you so you can actually have people for the long term, because it's a lot cheaper in business to retain good employees than to have to fire somebody or have somebody quit because it just doesn't work down the road. So retention is key. Just like with your tenants, it's always cheaper to renew a lease than it is to start over. It's just simple way of doing business. So when you do have your people, you want to define your roles and responsibilities. And we're going to go through this kind of quick because I'm going to go through some of the traction stuff in a sec and explain that a little bit. I know a lot of you have probably read that book. So, and I'm going to explain how we used it. So define your roles and responsibilities. Identify the roles and responsibilities needed for the leadership team. And that's going to be mostly you guys. If you're the owner, especially in real estate, you're probably the leadership team too. It's pretty rare that you completely step out of your businesses. That's the goal, is to completely step out and just have a leadership team in place. So I've done that in every business I own except for the brokerage. I'm still the broker, but I still have partners that help with the day-to-day. But the property management I've stepped out of, the flipping company stepped out of, and then the other companies I haven't stepped out of, like the Retreat Network and those kind of things, because I am like the sole person building those businesses. So, but for the brokerage, that's one thing that I haven't stepped out of. So you are the leadership team. Most of you are going to be the leadership team for a long time, and the owner as well. And this will include your CEO, CFO, COO, and other positions critical to the business success. If you don't think you're going to need those things, you're not thinking big enough, is what I would say. So even with one property, two properties, you're just starting out, you should think to the position of you needing all of those positions someday to some extent. So, I mean, your CFO is probably your accountant and your bookkeeper, and your CEO might be whoever just runs the day-to-day, and you are the owner and you finally stepped out. So identify your potential candidates and look for candidates who have the necessary experience, skills, and qualities required for their roles. Somebody that demonstrates leadership potential and people with a proven track record. So when I wrote this piece, you want to, and this is something that, and I've been victim to this before, but don't just hire your brother-in-law or your neighbor's kid or your best friend for your business. It's not the way to go, unless that person is the absolute best at what they do and you can separate that relationship. But I know that so many of us have hired wrong because we want to give somebody close to us a good opportunity. And that's not the way to go, guys. Just from 15 years of doing this, if they aren't the best at what they do for what you're trying to hire them for, irrespective of that relationship to you, don't hire them for that position, in my opinion. So Be really careful with that because real estate is a fun business. It's a business we generally do with people close to us and our friends. We usually rally up partners, and they tend to be people that we like being around. And then what happens next is we tend to hire people that are close to us because we just want either cheap help or we just don't know how to find the right people. So we fall victim of hiring those different types of people that just because they're close to us or friends with us, sometimes it works out, but in my experience, it's never really worked out very well. And not only do you hire the wrong person, you end up having a bad relationship with that person later, and it's just not worth it. Let them go be them. You hire the right people, and move on from there. So, hire the best person for the right seat in every situation you can do. And I've always, most business people in business that have been in it a long time will say to hire slow and fire fast. And I hire fast and I fire fast. So I'm good with trial and error and working through people and trying to figure out what works, because sometimes hiring slow doesn't really work for me just because I'm not somebody that likes analysis paralysis, and sometimes you just spend a lot more time just trying to find the right person rather than you could just work on a few people and see, and then if it doesn't work out, you just let them go. So develop a process for evaluating candidates, including interviews, reference checks, and assessments of their skills and experience. Look for candidates with a strong work ethic. That's the most important part, because especially I've learned a lot of the young people, they don't want to work like we expect. And a passion for the industry is helpful. That's that life well pursued, being bought in on the vision, and then a track record of success. Do a trial run. Interns are good. Hire people as interns first. A lot of interns will work for free, and just see if it works in your business, and see if they have that rock star attitude and the work ethic and everything else, and then see if they fit in your culture. Interns are easy to let go if it doesn't work, and then they want it to work for them too. So it's kind of like dating. They're going to see if they like you. You're going to see if you like them, and you just kind of figure it all out together. And sometimes you may love somebody as an employee, and then they may just not be the right person for you. So you might not be the right person for them, and they'll just take off. So that's easy. Just a little bit of paperwork and just kind of cut ties if you have to. So. And then develop a retention strategy. Once you've identified and selected the right individuals for your leadership team, develop a way to keep them. Competitive salaries, benefits, all kinds of things. So in the real estate world, there's not. It's kind of a really cool industry because you can get by legally, with stretching the subcontractor portion of things with real estate, especially if you're a broker and you own a real estate brokerage. Using real estate agents. So we all know there's a very fine line that the IRS likes to keep us in when it comes to whether somebody's an employee or an independent contractor. And in almost every industry, it's pretty cut and dry. But with real estate, you can dance that line a little bit easier and leverage the fact that you're protected a little bit under the IRS code by using real estate agents to do a lot of things. But you still have to be careful with that. You don't want to have issues come up with, and a lot of that has to do with not paying the taxes, right? You pay a lot less taxes if somebody's an independent contractor. So as a business owner, if you haven't hired your first employee, then what happens when you do hire that employee, when you pay them, there's a lot of taxes that you will pay on your side on behalf of the employee. And if they're an independent contractor, you don't have to pay those taxes. So when you have a lot of employees, that does add up, and it gets expensive. But if you have the right employees, it doesn't matter. But with real estate, it's nice because of that independent contractor status of real estate agents. And you can leverage that in your property management companies, taking care of your properties, obviously if you're a real estate broker and those kind of things. So just keep that in mind. And then retention strategy, what I've learned is the best retention strategy for anything is just more money. So I worked at a brokerage before I started my own, and their retention strategy was a plaque and like attaboy, good job, and nobody cared. Like they just would get you up in front of everybody, give you a plaque, and pat you on the back. But we don't do that at our brokerage. We don't do plaques. We give money. We do bonuses. So money is a way better retention strategy. If you want to keep your people, you want to keep them happy, just pay them, give them more money, and they'll stay with you a lot longer than if you just gave them a Dundee. So foster a culture of collaboration. So just invite collaboration, talk to your people, and the more you talk to them, the more you collaborate with them, the more they're going to be accountable to you. And this is my biggest weakness with all my employees that I've ever had is I tend to, and I'm sure Kyra gets so frustrated. I'm looking at Kyra right now. She probably just pulls her hair out because Kyra is like one of my main employees, and she does everything for me, social media, everything. And I tend to like halfway explain everything and just expect her to know everything. And then I fall short on the accountability piece. And we'll probably just have to get better at that. I'm just thinking about some of the things today. I'm just like, yeah, that's my fault. But that's it. I don't micromanage at all. It's not good to micromanage your people. If you're micromanaging your people too much, A, you're wasting your time. B, they're not the right person. So you just have to find that really good fit of how you can explain to people what you need in a good way, because that's a weakness I have, is explaining it thoroughly, and then B, have an accountability class or meetings with them to make sure that everything is working out. That way everybody stays on the same page, you're collaborating, and everybody's happy. So that's the way I would recommend everybody run their business, way better than just being a micromanager or completely being hands-off. Be somewhere in the middle of that. And I'm more on the heavy hands-off side, and I need to kind of get back into the more of the middle. But it's hard. It's hard to have that right balance. Some employees you just never have to worry about at all, and some you have to worry about more. And it's just you'll have to just trial and error and work through that with your people. So overall, building a strong leadership team requires careful planning, clear understanding of the skills and qualities needed, and a commitment to developing and retaining the right people. So this next slide has a sample structure discussion of how my businesses kind of flow down. And on the top of that, it just says ownership. And that is the way that you have it structured. And that might not be the same person. The owner might just be you, and then you completely staff everybody to do everything for you. So most of us aren't there yet on all of our businesses. If you are, that's fantastic. And just keep going down that path, because the goal that we should all have is to work on the business, not in the business. We all know that. So ownership is the top level, and then under that is a leadership. For a long, long time, it's probably going to be the same thing. Ownership and leadership are going to be the exact same thing, and then you're going to have other sub-leaders that are going to help you manage your day-to-day stuff. And I know that this is a lot for a lot of you where you only have a few properties, but the goal is to just blow that up. Like, you want to get a lot more property. Don't be a real estate investor and succumb to just a couple properties. You should be buying 1, 2, 3 a month if you can. And if you don't know how and you think it's a financial issue, reach out to me. You know where to find me, because don't let finances or money or deals slow you down if you really want to grow. Because I was able to explode through real estate with using other people's money all the time. So it's so possible. So if you guys are sitting there thinking like, this is not an hour that I needed because I only have 1 or 2 properties and there's no way I could ever grow to a point of having an entire leadership structure, you are absolutely wrong. You are not thinking big enough. You are not thinking correctly. Your mindset is not there. You need to get it there, and I can help you get it there, because it is so much easier than you could ever imagine to own 100 houses or whatever you need to be financially free. So, and then remember that argument with that. It doesn't matter how many houses you have. I just thrown out a number. It just depends on what you need to be financially free, or just whatever you want to do. If you just want to just hoard houses, then just go at it. But I just don't want this to be lost on people, to think that because you're a small investor, you're just starting out, that you can't get to that point way easier than you might think. So I want you to just have that mindset that you can, and this structure is important. So, okay, ownership, leadership, you have sub-leaders under that, and then you have your employees, and your employees could be a mix of W-2 employees and then your contractors. And if you are building a big real estate business and you don't want to only use employees, then become a real estate broker. Start a real estate brokerage, and then fill your brokerage with real estate agents that actually will do all this work for you without you having to pay them, because they're going to get paid from the commissions that they do. And just you could have tons and tons of people as boots on the ground to do so many deal finding or whatever, because they're going to get paid by the seller. Just so many strategies you can use and leverage with other people without you having to come out of pocket to have those people do things for you indirectly and have somebody else pay them. So it's pretty fantastic. So, and then you have your other subcontractors like maintenance and other things that are doing the work for you, like your a lawyer, your CPA, your bookkeeper. All of those are just outside third-party contractors that you're paying to do stuff for you as needed. We use a lot of VAs. VAs are fantastic. If you haven't looked into VAs, that's probably the first hire you should make if you're trying to hire somebody, especially if you just need administrative stuff done. Hire some virtual assistants. They're anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour, and they do good work, and they work hard, and they put we've found fantastic VAs, and I recommend that for sure. And then other ways that you can leverage, not really employees, but way to structure your business is software. Use as many software programs that make sense to you as possible. The better software programs sometimes cost a little bit, but not everything. I mean, we still use Google Meet, Google Sheets. We use Microsoft for the web. We use AppFolio for property management, syndications. We use Asana for managing projects. All of this is not very expensive. AppFolio is the only one that costs quite a bit. That's several $1,000s a month, but that's only because we have so many doors that we manage. They charge a base fee plus how many doors that you have. And I think for the several hundred doors that we have, I think we're paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month. But that includes we do the maintenance portion of that, where we have a call center that they actually call AppFolio instead of calling our people, and they book all the after hours and emergency maintenance. We don't have to worry about it. And then we also pay for AppFolio for our syndication that we do, our 506B and 506C syndications. They have an investment platform that's separate from the property management software that helps us run those syndications, which is pretty cool, because if you have AppFolio, and because I know a lot of people are interested in syndicating, if you have AppFolio as a property management software and you have all your doors that you own and manage in that software, if you use the AppFolio software for the syndications, what happens is you put the syndication in there, you put the subscription documents, everything in there, and then the assets that are part of that syndication, and your investors, your limited partners, can go into AppFolio and drill into that investment. And what will happen is that they could pull the properties that are part of that investment from the property management part, and they could pull it out, and they can actually see everything that you can see on the property management side. So, for instance, we do blind pool syndications, which means that we raise money first, and then we go buy single-family homes, hundreds of single-family homes. So if a limited partner wants to log in and see what ours is called Invex Capital. If they want to see what Invex Capital Fund 2 is doing, for example, and they open it up and they want to see what's happening with the 50 houses that are in that fund, they could go to any address and it'll pull that address from the property management software. They could drill into the tenant ledger, who lives there, pictures of the house, the whole history, the lease, everything. So it's full transparency, and our investors love that, because they don't have to ask us any questions. They can just pull up the accounting right there. It's a lot of general partners might cringe at that because it's so much information that they have access to, But you remember what I said about syndications, because everybody's syndicating now. If you don't do it right and you don't actually have transparency with your people, even though you are the general partner, there's only so much you have to give your limited partners at any given time. The screw ups on syndicating is not just a slap on the wrist. You could actually go to prison. So you have to be really careful with that, because there's so many people raising money and they're not really thinking how the weight of what can happen if you don't do it right. I'm sure you guys have seen everywhere people doing private money raising and not really thinking through how critical it is if you're, raising that much money from people and then buying assets, and then the responsibility that you do have. So when I think of, okay, so the last slide. So there's a picture of it, but this book. Who's read this? Anybody want to tell me you've read this or have heard of it or anything? Traction is fantastic if you are in any business, but I think it really does well with real estate, building your businesses from real estate. So what Traction is, there's a few people that have read it. It's the entrepreneurial operating system, and it will lay out everything that you need to do to build a business with people, your vision, your mission statement, how to keep everybody accountable, everything. So as you can see, we've gone through this. I mean, I've really spent a lot of time with Traction and building our businesses out. As you can see, like it is so good and so valuable. I recommend this highly to everybody. So when you read this book, the first thing that it's going to tell you, and this was my biggest thing, is to let go. It's called Let Go of the Vine. And as an entrepreneur, one of the hardest things that all of us have is letting go of control of things. So it's so, and believe me, I'm thinking of Kyra again, because she knows I'm completely hands off now. But 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I was absolutely the opposite. I was just like in control over everything. I just wanted to know what was happening all the time. And now I'm just like way on the other side. And don't go as far as I have, because I have weaknesses with that I'm trying to do better with. But letting go of the vine, and it's just finding a place, because it's really hard to build a business and hire people and trust people if you can't let go. You have to be able to let go, and the faster you can let go, I wish I would have learned it faster. The faster you can let go, the better the faster you're going to build a successful business, because there's no way that you can do everything, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. Not everything's going to be perfect. It's better to have 50 things like going really well than 2 things perfect. And it took me a while to learn that. So let go. That will get you to a point of working on the business rather than in the business. And then the second part of this book is the vision. Ours is a life well pursued. You need to come up with a vision that not only you love and that you're actually going to live. Don't just come up with some cheesy thing that you think is cool. Think of something that you truly stand behind, that you want to be like the core belief of your life. Not just your business, but your life. Like, remember, we're building a lifestyle business. This is called Better Life. We're not really separating work and life. Like, it doesn't work, guys, in my opinion. You want to keep them together and build a lifestyle business around it rather than just breaking them apart, because the balance is not there. The balance is better if it's just all together and you can actually find a way to make it work as one. And if you find a vision around that, then I think that you're in good shape. So, and then not just you believing it, you need to find people that will fit your vision just as good as you can. So, for example, on page 34, it talks about how you find the right people. And there's 8 questions that it asks. So, like, if I were hiring somebody, this is the 8 questions that I ask people. I asked, what's your core value? What's your core focus? What's a 10-year target for that person? What's the marketing strategy of that person? Like how do they think the business needs to, what direction it needs to go? What's a 3-year picture? What's a 1-year plan? What's a quarterly rock, so a 90-day plan? And then what are issues? What kind of issues do you see with this person if you're going to hire that person? So that is how you create a vision, but it's also I use it to actually ask people to see if they're going to fit within my vision. So I recommend that as well. And then the next part of the book is the people. Who do you surround yourself with? You got to change the people if it doesn't work. So like I said, right people in the right seats. Traction talks a ton about having the right people in the right seats. You might have the right people, but they may be in the wrong seat, and you just may be able to switch people. We've done that several times, especially with our property management company, where we love the person, but they're just in the wrong seat. So you just maybe need to see where they fit. As a boss, business owner, we tend to think, because we hired somebody, that they should do everything we say, no matter what. There's some truth to that, but you are setting yourself up to make that person miserable. It's better to not have that ego, and of course, you're paying somebody, they should do the things you ask them to do, but you should also put them in a position where they have the best chance of success, and happy employees work harder. So if you put somebody in a position, and it's the wrong seat, for example, and you're constantly just telling them what to do and they're just falling short because they're miserable, then you're only the business is suffering. So find that equality with being the boss, and they got to do what I say because I'm paying them to do that. There is truth to that, but be really careful with that. It's not the best mindset for the long term. You need to, there has to be expectations that yes, that you're paying somebody for a job, they should do what you're asking them to do, but not to the point of making your employees miserable. Move them to a different seat, try to give them different skills or whatever, especially if it's a good person, and just trial and error, work it out. So, and I know by experience, just hire somebody and be like, oh, you got to do this, 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 and this, and it only works if they love it. So just it's a pride thing, and sometimes you just have to find that median. So I've worked W-2 jobs before, and I was absolutely miserable because my boss would tell me things, like senior partner of a law firm, tell me everything that I needed to do, which I had to do because they were paying me to do it. But it was stuff that I hated, and I was miserable. And luckily, I had an exit strategy of investing in a lot of real estate, but not a lot of people have that. So in the corporate world or the private world of people having a W-2 job, they know very well how frustrating it is to work in a job where you have to do everything the boss says no matter what, just because that's a job description. And believe me, it's a broken system. It's such a broken system. So try not to do that with your business. Okay, data component. And this is the part I talked about before on keeping people accountable. Just make sure you collaborate, collect data, and data could just be conversations back and forth with your people. My biggest weakness, I need to do better at it, and just be on the same page, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating for your employee, it's frustrating for you if you guys aren't seeing eye to eye on things, and it's all solved by a conversation. And this is the same with between partners and spouses or whoever. You want to have that collaboration, right? I mean, if you're not on the same page, you're just frustrated. But the second you sit down and actually talk out your issues, things actually tend to be worked out. So yeah, that's a good strategy to have. And then the issues component, that is what comes out of the collaboration. You're going to come up with issues. And if you have a relationship with your partners and your employees, your contractors, everything, that it's a healthy place to collaborate and vent, then you're going to have issues. And if you don't ever have issues, then somebody's a doormat and things aren't working out. There's going to be issues, and talk them out, and then take the issues and then correct them, and correct them quickly. Otherwise you're going to be frustrated. And then document your process, and progress from there. So that's Traction. I recommend you get it. It's like $10 on Amazon. If you ever, it's just anything you're doing as an entrepreneur, even if you don't have employees yet, buy the book. I don't know this guy, so I'm not like trying to get Gino some money. I have no interest in this book other than I just thought it just really helped my businesses. So go for it. Okay, so that's all of leadership for today. So I told you for once I was gonna like finish early and not like spend 3 minutes on questions. So I have 19 minutes. So you guys can ask your questions here and I'll read them. But then I told you I had like 6 questions that I've been asked over and over again. And I apologize if they're redundant to you. I know I've answered them and we've talked about them in the last 5 hours, but they keep getting asked by Better Tribe members that are part of this class. So I'm going to go through some of these questions, and I think the reason they get asked a lot is they're controversial. Some of them are controversial on the way I see things and the way most other people see things. So I think that's why people want clarification, because they're like, why does he really think that way? I don't understand it, but that's okay. So the first question was, it's about 401ks, because I know that a lot of us have 401ks. I used to have a 401k. A lot of you guys that are working a W-2 job have 401ks or IRAs or mutual funds or whatever. So this one's about 401ks. And it says, I have a 401k. Why do I hate them so bad? And should I pay the penalty and reinvest? And so my first, like my quick answer is no. Don't just drop your 401k and pay a penalty and then invest in real estate. You have to have a plan and know why you're doing that first. You don't just do it just because somebody says 401ks are bad. I'm not, for the record, I'm not telling anybody to cash out their 401k and pay a penalty to IRS. Definitely not saying that. However, do I think money in a 401k is better allocated towards real estate? Absolutely. And if that's the only funds that you have to start investing in real estate or grow your real estate portfolio, then I absolutely think that you should consider it, but have a full plan in place, know the penalty, know the ramifications, and then go in with your eyes wide open so you know what you're doing. So, and here's an example that I always give people. So the average 401k balance at retirement is under $300,000. So imagine being 65, 70 years old and going into retirement and having the average person with only $300,000. I mean, now of course people have a lot more than that and people have less than that, but I'm talking about the average. So how far is that money going to last you, even with Social Security and whatever else you're doing? So most people are gonna, like, so my dad, I retired before he did, which it's a sore spot with him, but so his 401k is not very big, and he's been retired about a year, and he's already working part-time for the same company that he spent 40 years working for. So not only did he work for 40 years in a job that he didn't really love, he invested in a 401k. He never maxed it out, which is the problem. Most people, hardly anybody maxes them out. And he got to retirement. I don't know the full balance, but I know it's not enough. And he's 70 years old. And he's already back working part-time for the company that he didn't like working for 40 years. And I just spent a week with him, and it's really sad to see that play out, because he's not proud of it, first of all. He's not happy that he has to do it. And it's so frustrating to see that happening. And you see our government, for example, and a lot of other people just 401k, everybody get a job, 401k, get the match, it's so great, the tax benefits are amazing, you're gonna put all this money and you're gonna retire. I mean, guys, like, Google it, like, look at the research, look at the real data. It's just not there. It's not very good for most people. The average person, it's not good at all. So very few people, first of all, max them out. I think you can do 23,000 this year. Most people are doing half or less. So let's just say you invested in a 401k and you could max out $23,000. What if you took that same $23,000 and invested that into a house every year, or just one house? Let's just say one house. You did it one time. You took $23,000 in 2023 and you bought one house, $23,000 as a down payment on a rental property. And yes, you can use only $23,000 on one rental property if you are in the right market. My market's a perfect place for that. So, because you can still buy houses well under $200,000 that work with your numbers. So even with the rates. So just that one house in 30 years, first of all, it's going to, you're buying an asset for $150,000. You're controlling $150,000 worth of real estate for only $23,000. We all know that. And then it's going to go significantly up in value over 30 years. The same 30, 40 years you're going to be investing in a 401k. It'll probably be worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 at the end. So you paid $23,000 one time for an asset that's probably going to be worth $400,000 by the time you retire. And that's way less putting it in, money in a 401k. Let's say you're putting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. That's what most people are putting in. And they're doing that for 30, 40 years. And then they have $300,000, $400,000 at the end. So it just doesn't compare, not even close to comparing to the power of real estate. And the tax benefits on a 401k are nowhere near as good as the tax benefits on real estate. And just the leverage and all that. Just imagine also that you could max out $23,000 and you were buying a house every single year for the 30 or 40 years you were working instead of just putting in a 401k. You're going to have $10, $15 million worth of real estate easy at the end of that, plus all the depreciation and everything else that goes with it, with so little put in compared to what you could do with a 401k. So it's a very long answer. I was a little bit all over the place, so I'm sure I'll get more questions about the same question, which is fine. But that's why I don't like 401ks. And you can't control them. And 401ks can go to zero. Real estate will not go to zero. It cannot go to zero. It's impossible for it to go to zero. You could have an absolute catastrophic loss on your property, have it completely wiped out by a tornado, and the insurance company is still going to say, here you go, here's the money for that real estate. 401ks can just plummet. They can go all the way down, you know, so just lack of control, lots of bad things about it. So second question. Let me see if anybody's asked anything yet. No. Okay. Second question I get asked a lot. I have equity in my house or I have equity in my real estate, in my not primary residence. I'm sure that's what they meant. What's the best way to use it? Get it. So we talked about this during using Better Debt, and so you could refinance and pull money out, but of course if you have a really good interest rate that was locked in a long time ago and you're refinancing, you're gonna increase that interest rate, so be careful with that. So that's one way. You can refinance and pull out a bunch of cash and then use that cash to reinvest into more real estate. You can get a home equity loan off of that equity. So remember, you have, if you're going to pull out money, the bank is probably just going to do a desk appraisal on your property, just a quick appraisal based off of comps, and you're going to get a new value, and they'll give you 80% of that value. So let's say you've paid down $100,000 and it's gone up $100,000 off that new appraisal. You're going to have $200,000 of equity that the bank will let you pull out. But home equity line of credit or home equity loans right now, the interest rates are high, so just be mindful of that. And I'm just caution people on interest rates. We all know interest rates are high, but on the same hand, I always tell people just damn the interest rates. You still got to invest, because real estate, and this is just a tangent, but if you're buying real estate right, and I did a post on this on Instagram, if you're buying real estate right, in the right price range, below the national median, we are at the bottom. So anybody that is out there because of rates or they think prices are inflated, waiting for properties to drop in value or interest rates to drop in value, interest rates will probably drop in value, drop in rate value than the value of the house. The value of the houses are not going to drop. I think we're at the bottom. I think 2023 towards the end, 2024, 2025, we're going to see prices go up quite a bit. The new construction homes that I'm buying, I just think I'm getting them from an absolute steal, $220,000. I think that it's crazy, and I think that, and that they have to go off of comps, current comps right now, so they can't really charge more because the banks aren't going to lend more on them. So I think the builders know that they want to increase the price significantly, but they can't because it goes off of 6-month comps. So I think they know, and I've even seen building slowed because I think that they know that these houses, I don't think they're making as much money on them at all, and I think they know that what I know is that in 2 or 3 years, these $220,000 houses are going to be worth $350,000, and that's what I really believe. When I finished law school in 13 years, whatever. Gosh, getting old. In 2010, I bought a house for $120,000. So in 2010, so 13 years ago. That same $120,000 house, if I were to buy it today, is $320,000. That's a $200,000 increase in Lubbock, Texas, in 13 years. So, and that was before COVID, supply chain issues, interest rate hikes, everything else. So I think it's going to just even get more aggressive over the next 10 years. So, use your equity. Don't worry so much about rates. I think that the appreciation play, the long term, is going to be way better than worrying about the interest rate down the line. So, and the cool thing is, you buy property for the prices they are today, and interest rates drop half or whatever, you just refinance it again. So that's the beauty of buying. It's better to buy the real estate now and refinance later, or just use the rates that they are now because they might be the new normal, and just buy as much real estate as you possibly can, because it's only going to go up in value, especially if you're buying right. I'm not talking about the big luxury houses. Those are always going to roller coaster. That's what most of the media talks about with, oh, there's a crash. There's going to be a housing crash. There's going to be this or whatever. They're not talking about the real estate that we're buying as investors, the right houses. They don't care about that. They're not talking about that. They're talking about what consumers are buying in the higher end houses. The houses that we should be buying, we're at the bottom, and they're going to go up. Home equity line of credit is another good way to just have money available. The thing that's good about a home equity line of credit as opposed to a home equity loan, you just get the line of credit that's available to you, and you don't pay interest on that debt or on that figure. Say you have $200,000 home equity line of credit, you don't pay interest on that until you extract money from it and then go invest it somewhere. So you can just hold it there as a numeric value in your bank, and you don't pay any interest on that until you actually go and pull the trigger. All right, another question. Oh, I get this all the time. Oh my gosh. So why do you always talk about paying down personal debt? Can't you make more money by not doing that? Yes, I can. I'm probably the only investor out there that's trying to be whatever social media influencing status or whatever, that actually preaches the fact of paying off your house, paying off your cars, don't have student loans, don't have credit card debt, no personal debt whatsoever. Most investors think completely opposite, and they're like, leverage your mortgage, lease your cars. It's okay to have student loan. Well, they probably wouldn't say that, but just like ballooning personal debt is fine because you can take that hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s and just take it over to real estate, dump it into real estate, and buy way more real estate. They're absolutely right. You can make a lot more money because what's like my mortgage, when I paid off my house, my mortgage interest rate was like 3%, but I still paid it off. And same with my cars, really low interest rate. Well, I always pay cash for my cars, so I never had debt on my cars to begin with. But if I did, I could, and I have expensive cars, I could go out and get debt on my cars and go and buy 2 or 3 more houses with just with the debt on each car. So, but why I do that is for a few reasons. But the main reason is I invest extremely intentional in that it's all about time for me. You can't. If you feel like you never have time for anything, you're always never going to have time for anything. The only way to have more time is to buy it or create it. And for me, eliminating all my personal debt, I could just completely stop everything I'm doing if I wanted to, and I do this often where I'll just take several weeks off or just not do any work and just do everything that I want to do. And if I had a big mortgage, a bunch of car payments, a bunch of car leases and all that kind of stuff, it would be really hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that I could just leave work for several months and just hope that my real estate covers the expenses of all my personal debt. So that's why I do it. Yes, I could make more money doing it by, mortgaging everything and having debt on my cars, but that's not the point of like the vision I have, the life well pursued. I want to buy more time back more than anything. And that's more important to me than making more money. So I hope that clarified why I always preach that, because it is a little different than what most investors say. Okay, we have 3 minutes. Let's see, out of these 2 questions that are left, or 3 questions. One person asked, isn't student loan debt good debt? No, not at all. You can never sell me that student loan debt is good debt. I'm sorry. Maybe if you are like, let's say you're super smart and you are you know that you're just going to go rock it in law school or med school or engineering school. Those are probably the only graduate programs that I think are really worthwhile, because they're going to go to a graduate program that's going to make you money. Let's say you're really smart and you do the bare minimum student loans. You get $100,000 of student loans, and you know that as an oncologist, you're going to go make $500,000 a year. That's pretty good numbers. But the problem is most people will take out $300,000 of student loans and make $150,000 a year for 10 years, and then maybe they'll start to creep up on the income. So when I talk about student loan debt and the fact that you shouldn't go to college at all if you're not going to go into one of those graduate programs, is that I just look at the raw data. I look at the amount of student loans that people have and the amount of money they're making. And it's the same thing with the 401k. If you really dig into the numbers, the average balance of 401k is here and people's expenses are here. Well, the average student loan debt is here and their income is here. And it just doesn't work for most people. So, and that's who I'm talking to, is most people. Most of us aren't going to go and be an oncologist or work in a huge law firm or be an engineer that builds the next big suspension bridge. We're not those people. We're real estate investors, entrepreneurs. What will happen is most people, like a lot of people, go to college, they'll get their 4-year degree, have $100,000 of debt, and then not even have a job at the end. And that's what the data is showing. And that's why I'm so aggressive towards that, is because 90% of us are going to college for the experience and then getting a huge bill at the end with a very low paying job with very little prospects. So why not take that money and invest in yourself and like travel the world, or just do something awesome with friends, or build a business, or all kinds of cool things that you can do with $100,000, and instead of just getting it in sociology or anthropology or some crazy thing, or even business. Sorry guys, but even business, you don't need it. We have 1 minute. Thank you guys. Week 6. Please reach out on Circle, reach out at Texas Entrepreneur on Instagram, and I would love to answer your questions. I absolutely love getting your questions because I feel like I'm engaging with you and you're learning something. So flood my inbox. I would love to answer as many as I possibly can. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Kale. Thanks, Kyra.